Hello and welcome to the Faces of Africa Pocket Edition, where we dissect and discuss the topics covered in our weekly documentary show, which takes you through the continent's history, cultures, and major issues through exploring great personalities. This week on Faces of Africa podcast, we're talking about an interesting sport, a canoe marathon that usually happens in South Africa. My name is Fathiya Nur. I'm joined by
Kimani Mungai.
Hi, Kimani.
How are you?
Been good. Yourself?
Good.
Let's talk about this documentary that we're running this week. The name of the documentary is Valley of a Thousand Dreams.
Yes.
And this is with regard to a canoe marathon that's considered, or arguably, like they say, the biggest marathon, canoe marathon around the world, right?
Yes.
The Dusi Canoe Marathon. When you watch the documentary also, let's just start with the pictures are so interesting.
I know.
So the canoe marathon happens between the Msunduzi and the Mgeni rivers. This is between two hills.
Mm-hmm.
It's between the hills in KwaZulu-Natal.
Yes.
Right. Do you know much about the sport?
Yeah. First of all, it's a water sport where you have the canoe and the paddlers all going downstream, paddling and competing who will get to the finish first in the almost 120 kilometers stretch.
Yeah.
Out of the 120 kilometers, they go downstream for 90 kilometers. And there's stretches between, like, for 30 kilometers where you need to, go with your kayak and your paddles and, run so that you can outdo your competitors and get to the finishing line fast. So it kind of also tests your endurance.
I wanted to say that, actually.
Yeah, like your endurance. If you're carrying this canoe, which I'm assuming is quite heavy. Yes.
Yeah.
Although they are made by, the modern ones have fiberglass. So they're made of fiber and they're a bit lighter. But still, doing this for 30 kilometers is quite a stretch.
And you see they carry with one hand, they put it on their shoulder and they jog with it, you know, as they're walking.
Yes.
And like you've said, it's an endurance kind of, test. So which means you have to be fit. You have to be athletic. Because you also have to be fast in the way you move.
Correct.
And it's for both men and women, by the way. They both have their separate...
Yes. Both genders participate.
Yeah.
And what's lovely about it is the history of it. As you mentioned, it's very much white-dominated.
Yeah. Until
natives to South Africa who started participating and they started competing at the top. And they were very surprised that these guys are naturals. Most of them had little to no training, but they understood the terrain and the course. Yeah. And they went to win. Like, there's one legend called Rogers Lembete. He was Robert Lembete. He was one of the winners of the Dusi. Yeah. And he went on to found a club where this club has been now used to train upcoming youngsters in the sport who hail from the valley of a thousand hills. You know,
I don't know if this is accurate though, but someone would be curious to understand where the name Dusi came from. And I saw a certain article saying that, and I don't know if it's also part of the documentary, saying that because of one of the rivers is called Msunduzi, that's where the word Dusi came from. Yeah. Is that true?
I think so.
Right?
Sounds about right. But also it's pronounced Dusi. Dusi. You are in South Africa, so you should have acquired the accent.
A little bit.
Yeah, so Dusi. The Dusi is a magnificent event on the continent. That's actually even taking place this year. This year's edition
started on the 20th and it's ending on the 22nd. It's a 3-day event.
Yes.
It's actually the 74th edition since it started.
Nice.
But in the documentary, one of the key faces that you see is a gentleman by the name Martin Dreyer. Yeah. He's white. And he's one of the people who are taking part from back in the day in the marathon. And he's won it 7 times. But then something happened to him. And somehow that sort of catapulted him into starting his own organization. He founded Change a Life Academy. Now, the academy is about helping, especially black people, train and get into the marathon. And the reason why we're saying this is, remember, like we said earlier, black people are not allowed in South Africa to be part of this marathon up until 1981, which is 30 years later. So I think he played a very critical role in making sure that the sport still continues even with the black South Africans.
Yeah, it's a lovely thing that happened, especially given even the case studies like we see in the documentary, a 19-year-old Mpilo, who's also won it in his teens, in one of the previous editions. And you can see the impact that Martin and his academy has for the sport, and creating chances and giving opportunities, and then enriching the diversity pool of the competitors in the Dusi. And I believe that's very nice and encouraging.
I think continentally, I don't think any other African countries go to compete there. It's mostly South Africans.
Yeah. Okay, other nationalities go, but also remember, it's all about the African terrain. That's why you don't have many countries doing such, because of the rivers, the way they are posed in the terrain. It's very steep, so it makes it hard. So it's also a very good thing that guys can do the Dusi and also have that diversity in our sports on the continent.
Right. Interesting sport for sure. Thank you so much, Kim, for your time.
Thank you, Fathiya.